Excellent. Thanks for that, John, and thanks, Greg and Marie, for your insights before. They were really good. So today we're going to run through the Agrihive program and talk a bit about what it's about, so you can get a bit of an understanding as to what kind of benefit you could get by utilising it, and how we've been working with the eBeef program. So this is who's talking at the moment. So that's myself and James. James will be coming in and out of the presentation throughout it today. So the key topics that we're going to cover off on is really understanding what the Agrihive program is, what benefits you can get out of it, and stepping through some of those key drivers within business and what they actually mean, and how it can all come together by utilising the Agrihive program. The key focus at the end also, I'm just going to run through a few tax incentives. It's a little bit off topic, but I just think that it might be beneficial for everyone that's on here to hear some of the new announcements that's come out, because you might be able to get some benefits out of it as well. So where we're going to start with is really the high point, and kind of what Marie was talking about before, is we know that the agricultural game is quite variable, and there's a lot of things within it that you can't control, with the weather and so forth like that. But this whole program with eBeef and so forth is to work through what elements of it can you control, and that's the key theme within this, is understanding what they are, what impact will they have on the business, and how will that look going forward. And some of the things that I've got listed in here, Marie touched on in her presentation around, the livestock stocking rates versus pasture levels, making some of those decisions on turn-off times, even down to, and some of the stuff we've been seeing is what's the return on different stocking, whether it's cattle, sheep, goats, how might you utilise those assets better to get a better return. Also looking at the what expenses are going on within your business, and actually taking a step back and going, well, is there any efficiencies that we can get within them? Have you looked at your insurance policy for a few years? It tends to click up without you noticing it. Is there a better deal out there on that, on feed that you might get, on fuel, on labour? And how might you adjust that in relation to what the future activities are going to happen within the business? Also, from a capital improvements point of view, what's the timings on those? What's the costs involved? Does it increase value? When, where, how? And working through that. And with the Agrihive program, you can put some of these scenarios in there to see what that impact would be. And the final one, and these are really high level stuff, but it is looking at your financing arrangements and having that conversation with your bank, seeing if there's anything else that you could be providing in there to get that interest rate down a little bit, or looking at some other alternatives around regarding the RIC or Q rider that may be able to help. So what is the Agrihive program? I might flick over to James to run through this with you.
Absolutely, Jody. Yeah, thank you very much, and yeah, hello to everyone this morning, and great presentation before, Marie. Yeah, so pretty much what we've done is we've partnered with eBeef to establish, I suppose, the data to verify and support the decisions we're making on farm, and particularly for the cattle enterprises that are associated with it. It's a 3-year journey with people that have signed up, and to support, I suppose, our program, we've got BDO in there to assist. How it works is we capture all the farm data, so particularly the farm financials, and then we interact it with external data sources. So whether it's ABARES or ABS data to establish some benchmarking details relevant to your postcode, and then from that, what we do is once we've got the data together, the system actually crunches the numbers for you and generates reports. So you can see here we've got a report on the right-hand side, which is, I suppose, a graphic representation of your business. So it's a communication piece for all the interested parties and key stakeholders in the business. So that every family member, if it's a family business, or every business associate, if it's a corporate or or a firm-based enterprise, everyone can have a combined language that identifies, I suppose, the opportunities and the position of the business, and it also shows the projections of the business on how it's performing in the future. So when you apply scenarios and different decisions, you can actually, I suppose, extort exactly the impact of those decisions. Then in the pre-populated forms, what we've got is, I suppose, bank-ready documents. So in terms of our current users, some of those are taking them to their banks to review their business and for their annual reviews, and some are taking it to their accountants just to have strategic discussions. In this case, BDO is, I suppose, our go-to for that process, in that BDO understands the program quite well and has extensive resources to be able to support any decisions or any opportunities that are identified during the process. So today, what we thought we would do is, if you've got a couple of screens there or you've got something open, we'd just give access to people to sort of have a look at the system with a free trial for a month. So we just thought we'd offer that to anyone that's online here today. You don't have to be part of an eBeef member, but we're just very passionate about trying to help producers take control of their financial position and I suppose can take control of their future and achieve their goals and ambitions that they've got for their beef cattle enterprises. So what we've got here, that's just the website. So you've just got to type in www.agrihive.com. and it'll bring you to that front page there. And so it's www.agrihive.com. You'll just have to type that in the address bar, and then you can use the coupon code there, June 2020, if anyone wants to trial the system as we're talking through it. So what I thought I might do is just throw over to Jody now. But before that, the whole premise of the system is to keep financials very simple. So what we're concentrating on is trying to improve cash flow for our users, but also include their net wealth and their projected net wealth within the business. So all the financial elements come together. We can carve it up to display how we can achieve the goals in line with where this business wants to go. The underpinning sort of I suppose framework is, how do we increase the number of units sold? So how do we improve the number of heads sold on your property? How do we sort of match I suppose stocking rate to carrying capacity and utilize the available biomass as effectively as possible? The second element is, how do we increase the price received per unit sold, which is particularly, I suppose, the dollars per kilo return for those animals, whether it's penetrating the value chain, whether it's actually holding on to the animals for a bit longer, like Marie suggested, or any other sort of way of increasing the value, whether it's negotiating margins and the third element is to review our costs. So how can we not only improve profitability through revenue, but how can we improve it through reassessing our costs? So that's where we brought BDO in, just to have a high-level audited view of your business in a private setting. So Jody, back over to you if you want to sort of run through the system, and I'll just welcome everyone. We'll send the information out with the email to follow. But yeah, thanks for your attention today, and looking forward to catching up with whoever's interested and across the way. Thanks, Jody.
Thanks, James. So I thought I'd just run through quickly about some of those key drivers of profitability, and we've spoken about it a lot already in the webinar. But understanding, what are your numbers, what are they meaning, and what are they saying about your business, and then what levers do you have in there to make change within there, and again, control what you can control. So understanding your numbers. This throughout the next few slides, this report here on the side, I've got a bit of a snip from the Agrihive report, so the pre-populated forms that kind of come out once you've got the data into the system, and I'll talk through kind of what they mean and what kind of insights you can get out of being able to get your data in there and get some insights. So what we're talking about is, like, we're talking about profitability, but that means a different thing to different people when you're talking about it. Ultimately, yes, it's a profit at the end of the day that you make on a year-to-year basis, but we also look at it from probably more of a net wealth perspective and how can you increase that over time. And that's where the Agrihive report really comes into its own in relation to collating all that information together to combine both the business wealth and your personal wealth now and what you can do then over the next 12 months. So here's a dashboard that comes out of the system, which in the center there is that net business wealth, but also then has a few other key indicators within the business, being around your cash flow, what you expect to happen within the next 12 months, your livestock, what the value of that is, and your production numbers, and in relation to performance ratios, some of those key performance ratios. So I'll step through a few other reports that come out of the system in relation to those as well. So your net wealth, by getting the data in the system, you can really collate that and see what it looks like. It's similar to a balance sheet, but it's shown a little bit differently in there and kind of just summarised together and gets rid of a lot of the guff out of there. High level, it goes, what's the value of your farm, plus your livestock, plus your other assets that you've got, and less any debts that you have. The difference in here between a balance sheet is usually that's all shown at cost as opposed to at market value. This is collating it at market value to then say, well, what's my net wealth that I have within this is a business one, but the slide before then collated it into business and personal. The cash flow is what we spend a lot of time with the participants in the e-beef program. And I've got a snip here of both from the report, from the PDF report, and also from the Excel report, because we talk through this to kind of go, okay, well, what's your operating expenses and income? Does that look right? Is that what you're expecting that's going to happen? And then what in here, what drivers do we have in here to be able to change that net position? Looking through what financing costs you've got, your capital costs that you're looking to have over the next 12 months, and incorporating any personal spending that you're thinking you're going to have. And what does that do to your closing, like to your bank account over the 12 months? You're starting with a negative 500 grand there, the movement throughout the year then gets to a positive number. This is all an example, that'd be lovely. But seeing what a normal cycle would look like for the next 12 months. And the idea is that you keep this going as a rolling 12 months, every month updating it. We know situations change, we know it rains or it doesn't rain. You might have a trade opportunity or something like that that you can throw in there. So you can then see what that's going to look like as a snapshot of the business. There's also a fair few livestock schedules in there that gives different insights in relation to the value of your herd today, how it's all broken down into the different classes and mobs, the kgs, the turn-off periods, and a bit of a summary for the next 12 months as to what the makeup of your herd's going to be. The sale cattle, your breeder cattle, your calves, and then your total sales. If you're getting rid of everything, then you've sold everything by the end of the year. The next 12 months might not look too good. That's the situation. But it's an understanding what that means, what you've done there, and what insights you can get out of that, and what levers you can pull in relation to your livestock schedules. Now, the system also generates these performance ratios based on the information and compares it to what's in ABARES. But really, it's to have a look at what is the performance of your business and how can you improve that over time? And that's part of the discussions that I've been having with the eBeef members. So I'll just run through some high-level ones in here, not all of them, but it's probably good to understand what they actually mean. It's one thing to say, return on business equity is 7%, but what is that actually representing? So to understand that is a calculation of, well, what business profit do you make on a year-to-year basis, including all your financing costs, as a percentage of the equity that you've actually put into the business. So if you converted everything, sold all your assets, paid out all your liabilities, what's the equity value that you had sitting in there at the end of the day? And then how are you investing that to then make a return on that investment every year? And what kind of percentage are you getting? So 7% is pretty good in this one. But if you're comparing that to like the cash rate or the share market or the property market, then what kind of returns are you getting in there? Some other ratios are around performance ratios and running through what's percentage of costs in there. The viability of the business is another set of ratios that we've got. I've highlighted in here some of the key ones that the banks look at from an equity ratio and an interest cover ratio. So they're really good to look through and then see what's in your covenants to understand what's happening in there and how the bank might be viewing what your business is looking like. And again, it's all about controlling what you can control. So once you've got a good snapshot of what's going on, then being able to make those decisions, scenario test it, and go forward from there. I just thought I'd quickly, I think we're running a bit short on time, highlight the instant asset write-off, jumping into these tax deductions really quickly. The instant asset write-off has been increased due to the COVID stimulus measures for businesses that's got over less than 500 million turnover, to be able to get an immediate deduction for any new assets, new or second-hand assets that are installed, ready for use between 12th of March 2020 and just as of yesterday it was announced that this has been extended to 31 December 2020. It was going to be 30th of June. So you can spend up to 150,000 per asset. One key point in there is that it doesn't apply to structural improvements for most businesses, but if you're undertaking structural improvements on land that's used for agriculture or pastoral operations, then there's certain assets in there that you can actually claim under that instant asset write-off. So that's an immediate deduction when they're installed ready for use. So a great opportunity in there to be able to utilise that if that's something that's on your radar that you would be doing anyway within the next 6 months. And then there's a backing business investment incentive for anything that's over that 150 at the moment between now and 30th of June, where you can get a 50% deduction straight up. So what now? This is really just for the eBeef members, but if you want to work through this at all, then the Agrihive program, the free trials come through from James. And if you've got any questions at all, I'm happy to do a complimentary half-an-hour chat with anyone on any questions that they have in there, or how it might come together, or how it might work, or any tax or any other associated ones. Happy to try and help out, because that's what I'm passionate about, is trying to help people in your industry.